Good afternoon, everybody. This is All Things Cheryl coming to you with another review and a recap of Greenleaf, episode 13, season 2, the title of Silence and Loneliness. Of course, last week, when we left off, we saw that Carissa was sitting in the bishop's and Lady May's office. And then quite naturally, she's very upset with Jacob after her and Jacob had this falling out about him not getting a job and him being the head of the household. Well, Carissa, you decided to take your little self down to the bishops, down to Calverton, and spill the beans simply because Jacob told you to wait and have faith. So you didn't want to wait until have faith. So what you did is that you gave the bishop and you gave Lady May all of the ammunition and information that they needed in order to get Basie Skank. So Carissa, the bishop asked you all of the information that you told them about how Jacob obtained the house, the land, and the deed for the house that they're in. And so the bishop said, do you have a way to prove all of this information? And so Krista says, no, I don't, but I do know who does. And so quite naturally they find out who does and they get all the information. And we see that Lady May and the bishop is basically looking through all of the paperwork. And so the bishop said, well, what do you think we should do? And Carissa says, well, all I need for you to do is to try to get Basie to give Jacob control of Triumph and let him become the preacher, and he basically steps off. And so the bishop says, okay, I'll see what we can do. I'll do that. And so in the meantime, we all on the other side of town and we see Grace. And Grace is basically, Grace Gigi. She's basically, she's a very healthy person. So she's out there doing her exercising and everything. But before she gets up and she goes and do her exercise, we see that Grace is having some issues with sleeping. She is having dreams, and she is dreaming about her uncle Max. And eventually after the dream, and she wakes up. And then when she wakes up, she begins to basically go, and she goes and exercise and everything. And of course, they do their breakfast thing, and she sees Lady May, and Lady May says, looks like you're tired again. She says, you're still having problems with sleeping. And she said, yes, I'm still having problems with sleeping. And she said, I'll talk to you later. I'm getting ready to, go, to go and exercise or whatever. And so she goes and she exercising and everything. And so we see Grace. This is where we get back. We see Grace. And Grace is basically exercises, and she's running and everything. And all of a sudden, while she's running, you see this young lady who runs past her. And this young lady who runs past her, and Grace, looks back at the young lady, and you see that this young lady, the expression on her face is like she's horrified. And so she ran across her. In the meantime, we over in the other part of town, and we still dealing with Carissa giving the information about how Jacob obtained the church. And so we see the bishop goes inside of the church and goes inside of Basie Skank's office, and he says, Basie Skanks, how are you doing? So what do we have this auspicious occasion? We see you twice. And so the bishop calls Basie Bass, his gambling name. And so Basie Skank says, where did you obtain that information? Who told you? How did you get this information? And the bishop said, look, I know everything about you. I know exactly what you're doing as far as gambling and gambling the membership's money away and everything. He says, I'm gonna give you two options. Now I'm gonna give you one option. And one of those options is that you turn yourself in. And the second one is that you let Jacob become the pastor of Triumph. And then that way no one will know anything and you can basically quietly turn yourself in. And so of course, Basie Skank is not going down. He's not going down easily. He says, I'm not giving up nothing. Basically what you need to do is that you need to get out of my office. And so the bishop leaves the office. And so we see the bishop and Krasie and Lady May basically talking. And so Krasie says, well, did he basically take, the deal and everything? And the bishop says, no, he didn't want to take the deal. He wouldn't take the deal. And so later on, another part of time, we see that Zara and Isaiah is, I guess, driving around, and Isaiah tells Zara, he says, I have a present for you. And so Zara says, well, what is the present? So he says, well, look in the compartment, in the glove compartment, and she looks in the glove compartment, and she sees that she pulls out 2 tickets, and the 2 tickets is for her, and I guess someone else, because he's going to be performing at a show. And the show is the same weekend that the cotillion is. And so Zara says, this is the same weekend that the cotillion is. And she says, I want to go to the cotillion. And he says, well, why do you want to go to the cotillion? He says, I want to go to the cotillion. He says, well, she says, if you don't want to go, then I'm still going. And then he said, well, basically, who are you going to go with? She said, I don't know, I'll go with somebody. And so that's when he slammed doing his brakes. When he slammed doing his brakes, she's already hit her head on the dashboard. And so this is when Isaiah tells Zara, look, I told you to put that seatbelt on correctly. And then that's when Zara tells Isaiah, look, take me home. Take me basically home. And so that's when Isaiah told Zara, says, okay, I'll take you to the cotillion. And that's when he didn't really want to go to the cotillion. This cotillion is going to be, I believe the cotillion is going to be the final season, because this cotillion is really building up. And so I'm really, looking forward to see exactly what this cotillion is going to be looking like. In the meantime, we all the way on the other side of town, and Grace is basically going and having, I think I elaborated, is having her exercising, and she sees this little girl running by. And I said earlier that the little girl was running by and looked like she was like scared, scared wits. And then in the meantime, we come back on the other side of town and we see Basie Skanks. And we see that the goon has come into the office And apparently he's getting ready to, come for his money and everything. And I don't think Basic Skanks have that money. So he's getting ready to get tapped on that bun of his. And so in the meantime, we see Charity and Jabari. Charity and Jabari is in the studio with another artist. And the artist is telling Charity, says, look, this is not the way I want it. The melody is like looking good. I like it, but I don't like it this way. Can you change the melody? Can you do this? Can you do this? At that time, Charity was like really upset that this woman had took her lyrics and basically what she said had chopped it up and everything. But you have to realize when you are a songwriter, you write a song and you have an artist, they can basically take that song and because you're really trying to, they can take that song and tell you exactly what they want. And your job is to give them what they want. Your job is to get that music out there. But Charity was very, very upset with the fact that this woman had took her creation and she basically, what she said, butchered it. But then again, Charity was getting ready to tell the lady exactly what she could do, what she could do and with, her music and everything. And Jabari basically stopped her. And so the lady left and Jabari kissed the lady on the forehead. And apparently it seems that Charity was kind of like getting upset with Jabari because he kissed the lady on the forehead. And Charity, you moving too fast. Now, the reason why I said you're moving too fast, why? Okay, if Jabari likes you, he likes you. He basically gonna tell you whether or not if he like you or not. But it looks like you pressure him, trying to get him to like you. He'll let you know. But the reason why I say this is that Charity asked Jabari, do you like me? And Jabari said, yeah, I like him. And she said, no. Do you really, really like me? Now remember, when Jabari and Charity last week, or 2 days ago, had dinner, Jabari kissed Charity on the forehead. And Charity was like, oh, what the hell going on? So she was upset. So this week, she see that Jabari is with another woman, and he did basically the same thing that he did to her, kiss her on the forehead. So she needed to kind of sort of like, I guess, stake a claim or let Jabari know how, she feels, because it looks like Jabari likes to kiss people on the other forehead, or kiss women on the forehead, and maybe that may be his MO, but she's not quite sure. And so Jabari said, look. This is not the time and place for, you asking me questions about, if I like you or whatever. And he said, well, first, let's deal with this music first, and then let's deal, we can deal with the other issues later on. So we dealt with the other issues later on. So we're on the other side of town. While we're on the other side of town, we see Jacob chewing in on Carissa. And Jacob said to Carissa, and I'm basically with Jacob on this one. He told her, so why would you go and give this information to my mother and father when I told you not to? When I told you not to do this, why would you do this? And so Carissa went on and saying, well, look, I had to do something because it looks like you ain't want to get a job and everything. And I'm tired of, wondering whether or not if my kids have, if the lights are going to come on or if the lights are going to go off. I'm just tired of it. And so Jacob was very, very upset with Carissa. And I don't blame him. Should have been upset with him. And I said, Carissa, you made a bad mistake when you did what you did, because this is going to come back and bite you in the buns. And we know that in first season, you were all upset with Grace with the fact that Grace came back and upset your plan for Jacob. But Jacob really wasn't seeing. He couldn't see the trees for the forest, and to me, he still can't see the trees for the forest, because you basically pushing him, telling him what he needs to do. It looks like you were pretty much on your way, but she then got a hold of you again, and then persuade you again to become the pastor of Triumph. And so here we back on the other side of the town again, and this time we see the bishop, and we see Basie Skanks. And so the bishop's telling Basie Skanks, and says, look, you really need to think about what you're doing. You need to, really give control to Jacob and let him have this church. And so Basie told the bishop, get out of my office. I don't want to hear what you got to say, because basically what you're telling me is that you're trying to blackmail me, and I'm not for it. I'm not having it. In the meantime, we go on the other side of town. We see Basie Skanks has got his little bun torn up. The goon has came in to collect his $50,000, to collect his $50,000, to collect his cheese, his $250,000, and apparently Basie Skank didn't have it. And we see Tasha is hollering and screaming and said, I told you to stop. I told you to stop. I told you not to do it. And you basically went on and did it anyway. And then this is when Basie was talking to Tasha, and he says, yes, I know you told me to stop. I know I should have listened to you and everything. And I just should have listened to you. And so this is when Tasha says, you need to just quit. You need to stop and everything. You need to just give the church over and let Krasie and Jacob take it over. And so Tasha said, well, what are we going to do? I don't know what we're going to do. We got to do something. And so in the meantime, we come back on the other side of town. This time we see Tasha. Tasha comes in. And she comes in because she's at Calvin in the office. And Lady Lady May and the bishop is, talking. And so Tasha comes in, and she's like real crying and everything. And she said, oh no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. They beat my Basie. They messed up my Basie. They messed up, they bruised his pretty little face and everything. He's got blood and everything on it. But really, Tasha, now you knew what your husband was doing. You knew he was going to get his little ass into some problems, and he basically told him to basically stop, but he didn't want to do it and everything. And so in the meantime, okay, it's like nighttime and everything. And so Grace picks up the phone, and she's really thinking whether or not she wants to call. So we know who she was thinking that she wanted to call. She called Darius. And so the reason why she called Darius is that she needed to talk to Darius about something. And so she said, Darius, what are you doing? Darius says, oh, nothing. Now, on the other side of the phone, guys, it sounded like Darius was sleeping his little self away. So she says, can I come over? And so he says, yes, you can come on over. So, if it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning now, guys, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, those of you all who like creeping, you know what that is about. That's, you know what that is about. That's, goody time. That's sweetness time. Let's get it on time, Okay, so we see that Grace is basically talking to Darius. She says, I wanted to come over and I want to talk to you about something. She says, I've been having some nightmares, and I can't sleep at night. And so Darius says, he didn't say anything. And she says, I have a secret I need to say something about. She said, I've been dreaming about this shack in this little, I guess, cabin or in the woods, and this young girl is basically running out of it. And she goes on to say, well, the young girl that's running out of it, that was basically me. Because my uncle, Max, had tried to molest me. And I basically got away with it. I fought him off before, he could go any further on. And so that's when Darius basically looked at her. And he was like shocked to hear that her uncle also tried to rape and molest her. And so Grace was having so much anxiety, so much, pressure due to the fact the title of, the title of this episode is Silence and Loneliness. But the fact that one reason why, she actually really came back is to visit, to find out information about Faith, her sister, and to find out exactly what happened. But she was having so much anxiety, and whatever she would try to do, she would hear her uncle's Mac's voice in the back saying, they're not going to believe you. It's too late. They didn't believe you when you said something about Faith. And then the fact that she was having so much anxiety and everything, and illusion, because she would see this girl running past her. And so she needed to find a way to release that energy and everything. And so she said, the reason why, I'm telling you this information is because you consoled with me, and the reason why, you didn't really come to, you wasn't coming to church, or you didn't like going to church because your wife passed away, and I just thought it would be best, me to share too. Well, here we go with this on again and off again thing, because I had no idea that they weren't on, and until Sophia earlier had asked her mother exactly what's up with you and Darius. I haven't really seen him in a while, and that's when we find out that they were taking a break. I had no idea that they were basically taking a break. Now we go back on the other side of town, and this time we see that the bishop and Lady May have went back to the office of Triumph and the office of Basie Skanks. And this time, Basie Skanks, the wife, Lady May, and the bishop was in there. And the bishop said that you need to basically turn the church over and to give it to Jacob. And once you do that, then you need to basically turn yourself in, because they're going to be wanting to find out what's going on and everything. And so we see that at this time, the bishop and Sophia, they were getting ready to go to church. And the bishop asked Sophia what she's going to be dealing with the little saints. And she said, well, we're going to be talking about, I think, the lion den. And so the bishop says, okay, that sounds like something interesting. But before that, the bishop said to Sophia, I understand, you don't have a father to escort you to the cotillion. And he tells Sophia, said, if you don't mind, I would like to be that father figure for you. And then Sophia said, I don't mind at all. So it seems that the bishop is going to be escorting Sophia to the cotillion. I know they have a date, and they have boyfriend is supposed to escort. I think it's a father thing also. The father is supposed to escort their daughter into the cotillion also. So we go on the other part of town, and we see that Bishop Skanks, Pastor Skanks, is up in the pulpit, and he's talking to his congregation, and he tells the congregation, he says, look, I have really failed you guys, and it's time for me to basically step down. It's because I really haven't been, I have sinned and I have done things that I should not have done. He didn't really go into the semantics. He didn't really tell his congregation exactly what he did. But he went on and said, look, I'm going to be leaving, and I'm going to be turning the church over to a brilliant young man that's basically is going to take the church to a higher level. And then that's when at this time he introduced Jacob. Now you can see when the cameras panned off in the crowd, you can see that Lady May and the bishop was holding each other's hand, and you can see the expression on the bishop's face. He seems like he was very, very proud at the fact that Jacob is getting ready to be a head of his own church. And then in the background, you could also see that Krasie was, everybody was like there, with the exception of Grace. Because then at this time we were dealing with Grace again, and this time after Grace had told her secret to Darius about the fact that her uncle tried to molest her, she went back to the forest, and she went back to the cave. That's why I was trying to figure out. She went back to this cave where apparently her uncle tried to molest and tried to rape her. And then this time she did not hear any voices. She did not hear any voices of her Uncle Max. So apparently, I'm thinking that since she at least told somebody, she, felt a little better. But here's the fact. This is what I feel. I don't think that her telling her secret to Darius was a good idea. Yeah, he was there at the time, and yes, she did need to release that. She did need to release that expression, that pressure, that stress, and keeping that secret away from the family. But eventually, I think it's going to backfire on her. I think it's really going to backfire on her. So we see in the meantime, we see Tasha. Tasha is in the Triumph's office, and Lady May is in the Triumph office, and the bishop is in the Triumph's office. And Lady May says, once the service is over, asks the bishop, says, is this the office that Jacob is going to be having? And so the bishop says yes. And so Lady May looks at the office and says, well, in other words, we need to do some decoration. We need to change it and everything. And so at that time, we see Tasha. She's sitting there, and she's basically crying and everything. And so the bishop says, well, where is your husband? And she tells Bishop, he left. He didn't stay away. And the bishop says, why? And she said, I don't know. He says, well, where is he? I bet you know where he is. And she looked at him and said, I don't know where he is. And so the bishop said, well, why didn't you go with him? And Tasha says, because I didn't want to go with him. And so that's when we see that the bishop's cell phone went off. And this is when it's Lionel on the other end. And this is when we see that Lionel tells the bishop that he needed to speak to him about something. And it was very, very important. And this when it all went off. Now, guys, I might have, I don't know if I left out something. If I do, please let me know. But this episode was very, very good. And the fact, and I believe it was titled correctly. This particular title was Silence and loneliness. And it can be lonely, especially when you have a secret, and you kept that secret in you for so long, and you have not, told it to anyone. And it's almost like you have to be silent. You don't know whether or not, if you bring the secret out, if anybody is really going to believe you. And so in the meantime, I'm going to tell you that this was a very, very good episode. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trusting Darius because he's beginning to get a lot of information from Grace. She's being really vulnerable at this time. And the fact that Tasha did not go with her husband, that doesn't really sound correct. I believe Basie is really up to something because he's really trying to get the bishop. And I believe that the fact that he turned the church over to Jacob, I think this is how he is going to really get him. And then Lionel. Lionel calling him, and then Lady Day standing and say, well, what do Lionel want? Why is he calling you? We saw some clips of next week. It's getting ready to jump off. Because we're getting close to the final sequence. And until the meantime, this is All Things Cheryl. I'm coming at you with the review and a recap of episode 13 in season 2. Silence and Loneliness. I'm asking you to click, subscribe, notify, and share. Till next time, until next week, this is All Things Cheryl, saying peace and love, and have a wonderful weekend.